Hello everyone, how you doing again? Stompar Gamer, first time doing a video in a little while. Gonna do a video today going into the new flight model. I'm on the PTU, so the Public Test Universe, and we're gonna test the Anvil Aero with the new flight model and just see what all the hubbub is about. Unfortunately, I'm seeing that there's apparently some issues with landing splines and takeoff splines right now. So we may not even make it out of the hangar, and if that's the case, we'll wait for the next PTU build. But my plan is to test the Anvil Aero now, and then next test the Starfarer, kind of, in my opinion, the two opposite ends of the I forgot to look at what hangar I'm in. The two opposite ends of the spectrum as far as flying goes. The Anvil Aero is probably one of the more nimble ships in the game and the fastest ships. And then the Starfarer is the exact opposite of that, the slowest, least nimble. So just give us a nice idea of the two extremes of the new flight model and atmosphere as far as testing goes. And as far as aerodynamics go, I mean, you can't get more unaerodynamic than the Starfarer. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that. But the first thing we're going to need to do is obviously get off the ground with the Aero, and we'll see if that's possible with the current build. As I said, I've been seeing on the chat when I first logged on that apparently people have been having issues with getting into the air. So if that's the case, this will be a very short video as we proceed to crash into the ground. So here we have the Anvil Aero. I will again do a pilot review of all of the ships again once this goes live to 3.10 on the live servers. But for now, this is just a PTU test of the actual flight model that's currently being implemented. So kind of a first look. This is my first time on 3.10, so with the new HUD, with the new flight model, lots of changes have happened with both fixed and gimbal power, etc. So we're going to have to see how it works out. So for now, let's go ahead and request takeoff here from Lorville. You can see there in the chat where they're talking about the fly zones are a major issue. So, this is going to be an experiment. I'm not sure if it makes sense for security to be patrolling in our area, but it is neat that the NPCs seem to be more logical in their pathing. Oh, the dead zone got wiped. I'm going to have to check my controls once I get in the air. There's currently no dead zone on my throttle. That's not good. Alright, so I do not appear to have any splines. Ah, there they are. So those should be my departure splines. Alright. Now, I need to set some dead zones. Get my controls configured real quick. I don't know why I'm slowly drifting to the side like this. I'm assuming it's not wind. I'm assuming it's a control issue. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get up here. Let's go into options. Actually, let's leave ourselves cruising up and out so we don't burn our thrusters. Leave left shift just to keep. Nope. Yeah, so we'll do cruise and go that. And real fast, let's go here to controls, joystick, and then looks like there's some new options in here, but we're looking for curves, flight movement. Trying to remember where I had all my settings, dead zones, X, Y. Not quite sure where we had it, but we'll set, we'll just go 0.24 for now. That should be something for now. Just a real quick and dirty just to get something in there, just that there is some dead zones. Alright, let's see. Curves seem to be a little bit better. Go to the 0 point. There we go. I got a little bit more of a dead zone, so that'll be workable. Okay, let's get on with this flight test now. So it's a new UI you can see there. It looks like the new flight path vector is that kind of left and right bracket arrow there. So you can see as it kind of lags behind as we move and catches back up. So that's kind of new. Still the same pitch ladder like you would expect. More solid straight line there. So let's check the roll of the arrow. Well, it seems a little slower than it used to be, but still it's pretty quick. SCM still about 197. Do a quick pitch. Still very good on the pitch, and yeah, we lost a decent amount of speed, but not too much. I don't like how that center, I miss the old flight path vector, the square as you were used to having it. All right, let's check yaw left. Alright, so you can still yaw all the way around. Gives you the full. So that's not bad. Let's check acceleration. We're at about 7,000 meters right now. Alright, above SCM it's definitely less maneuverable. Now definitely a higher top speed than it used to have in atmosphere. So we're sitting right about 540-ish. So not bad. That's again about 5,000 meters right now. And yeah, she's very hesitant to change directions or vectors at this speed. So definitely, you know, the high speed combat changes they were talking about, definitely visible. I mean, this is kind of jerky, even in the pitch change. Decent G's, we're hitting 9.4 there. Alright, so we'll slow back down to SCM speed. Just that quick slow drastically improves your performance, so definitely you're going to want to monitor your speed. A lot of people tend to fly with no speed limiter and they use their throttle to keep their speed adjusted. You might want to start adjusting your speed limiter in combat to keep it in SCM the way it's looking right now. Alright, let's check movements with strafe. So we're going to we'll do left strafe. There's that kind of slow build up they were talking about. So still pretty strong strafe we're seeing in the Euro at least. But definitely it's more of a gradual up and down change. So we're losing our light time here, so I'm going to go ahead and head up to orbit. We'll head up to an outer marker and then we'll try to get to the light side of a planet. I have to get up higher first though. Seems like the Arrow's overheating faster than it used to. I have to go back to the other videos and kind of time out the heating versus how long it takes. But yeah, I mean it's downright painful trying to move above SCM now. I mean she really just does not want to maneuver above SCM. That's more of a drastic change than I would have expected. We'll head up to Everest Harbor right now. We'll do some space tests as well, because that had also changed. So far, takeaway for atmospheric is it's definitely more, what's a term I want to look for? Kind of twitchy above SCM. You go above SCM, you know it. And that flight path vector twitchy thing there is really annoying. I'm not sure I like that. Alright, so let's check space. Let's go ahead and head to the station actually and do that kind of bounce around, one of the axes I like to do. So top speed in space, about 1234. So pretty much the same as it used to be. Now let's see movement above SCM in space. It doesn't look like movement suffers a whole lot in space as far as direction changes, but your velocity vector definitely lags behind. But again, so it's not too drastic in space, which is a good thing. Alright, so we'll head around this kind of needle area here. Hopefully there's no landing splines around space stations. That'll be really annoying if so. Alright, I need to turn off the hints. So again, it's a PTU, so a lot of the changes that I have on live are not there. Like you just saw, the dead zones, etc. Control, fine-tuning I haven't done. So that's something I need to do. This is just a real quick pop on, because I imagine we're going to get another build if they're having as many issues as people are saying. Alright, so let's start our rotation. So I'm using some down thrust, along with just maintaining myself along the center line. A little bit of boost, just to assist. So yeah, I mean, again, you're still pretty darn maneuverable. I'll change the axis. Ooh, rolls a little more twitchy than I'm used to. Again, that could be dead zones. Yeah, a lot of the fine-tuning you can get from messing with your controls gets lost. And it takes a little adjusting used to, and getting used to and adjusting if you don't have them set. So space-wise, I'd say the arrow is still as maneuverable as it used to be. Go ahead and increase our distance. Change direction. Yeah, so you're still, at least in the arrow, there's very little to minimal change in space as far as maneuvering at SCM. If I increase it, let's see, so let's go above SCM now. So definitely requiring more boost above SCM to try to stay. And of course there, boost is out, I can't keep distance anymore. Engine's overheated. So yeah, you're definitely paying some serious penalties for flying above SCM now. So in combat, you're going to have to slow to SCM. They talked about guns, tracking targets above SCM, missiles, etc. They really kind of want to keep you at SCM speeds, so you might as well get used to using a speed limiter in combat from here on out. It's a definite change. Better or worse, I don't know, but it's definitely there. Alright, let's head to the day side of the planet and we'll do some low-level flying real quick. That should be on the day side, we'll see. I do love the look of the Arrow. It's still, in my opinion, the best looking light fighter, at least in the game, and in my opinion, maybe the best overall. It's just a pretty ship. It'd be a lot nicer if it had two shields, but then it would be the hands down best ship to use, period. Alright, so this is still the night side. Oh well, we'll make it work. So we got headlights for, right? Oh, you notice that drift. So that drift we're getting is actually the wind. But without a wind indicator, it's hard to know which direction the wind is coming from. So I hope they intend to improve that a little bit. So again, the way you can tell is, I'll go ahead and, my controls are completely centered, but the ship is still trying to turn to the right. But again, I don't have any kind of magnetic heading. I don't know which is north, south, east, west on this planet. Something I want, I think we should all want, is some form of better navigating. Hey Rick, how you doing? Yeah, it's a little twitchy. But let's see here. So again, we got a little bit of a storm. You can see the wind is kind of pushing us into the mountains here. So again, that's something I approve of. It's something, you know, the argument they have for ground vehicles is that, hey, you're going to run into these weather conditions, and it's not going to be very safe to fly. You'll be taking your life into your own hands, etc., flying low altitude in here. So that's why they're arguing for ground vehicles. You'll land further away from the mountains and then come in on a Tumbrel or a Origin G12 or whatever ground vehicle you have. So I'm using about 40% thrust here, just to kind of keep along the terrain. And even at SCM, I'm having a hard time turning. She doesn't really want to turn or climb very well in these conditions. And I can barely see. So I'm not going to crash on a live stream because that's embarrassing, but going to get close, at night in these conditions. So that's definitely an argument for using ground vehicles at least. So I think that's a good change. I approve of it. I still have a hard time reconciling in my head why a spaceship is having a hard time in atmosphere. But, rule of cool, as they say. Yeah, so there's that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to climb up a little bit so we're not as close to the ground, and so we actually have better visibility of our direction. About 5,000 should work. So go back to SCM. So again, you've seen this, I'm being turned by the wind. This is 100% the environmental effects turning this ship right now. Not me, not my controls. We've added dead zones. I mean, can you hear the wind howling there? But without a wind speed indicator, right, it makes navigation hard. Because without the wind speed, if I knew exactly which direction it was coming from, I could aim more into the wind and plot my course so that my velocity vector that you're seeing there is lined up with my target, and I wouldn't need to keep constant control inputs in to keep myself on heading, because that's not how the way wind works. We're not flying a weather vane, we're flying an aircraft or a space shift. It's going to maintain directional stability. It's not going to just drift in the wind like a leaf, especially moving at 192 meters per second. So this is, I kind of have an issue with how it's constantly being turned. My ground track should drift over the ground, yes, but my plane shouldn't just be turning into the wind as if it's got no thrust. So speaking of thrust, let's go ahead and climb up a little bit more, and let's kill the engines and see if we glide at all. Put her back in cruise. Items. Regulus spacer. Where's the thruster main? Alright, so I've kept my thrusters on so I can control my pitch. Velocity's dropping. I can pitch down. Now in reality, I should be speeding up here, or at least maintaining airspeed. But I don't have any velocity vector, any indication of my speed. I can still fly, sort of. And notice altitude's not dropping, so I'm guessing it's the thrusters. Yeah, so the thrusters are what are keeping us aloft right now at 0 speed. So turn the thruster back on. Kill. So we're no longer coupled. Now kill the thruster. So in theory, the thrusters, there they go. They're not keeping us aloft anymore. We're dropping down, speed increasing. So more as I would expect, so we are gliding at this point. So turning off coupled gives you more of what I would expect an airplane with the engine off to do. So if I pitch up, we should stall, and that altitude should really start dropping down. So we'll try to hold this pitch and let the airspeed bleed. Yeah, we're just more or less in a flat stall. Let's get the thruster back on so we don't crash. Whoop! Maybe I waited a little too long on that thruster. But we didn't fully crash. Alright. Or if we did, the shield saved our lives. Still dropping. Pitch up, pitch up, pitch up, pitch up! There we go. There we go. I forgot we had coupled off. Oh! Alright, so there we go, climbing out. Alright, now let's check. So again, coupled will make it so when I do this, I just stay at 90 degrees. No change. Inverted should be fine. Still climb, still fly. Alright, let's turn coupled off again. So there's our velocity vector. Still not getting a lot of lifting force from the actual spaceship. If I'm not using up thrusters, so we'll go to 0 pitch, we're still descending and coupled. So you really have to pitch up to maintain. I mean, this is a pretty high angle of attack. Look at the amount I'm going to have to pitch up to keep our altitude at SCM. So we really do need to have a lift vector. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. And again, you can use strafe up to keep your lift vector, which is what, coupled is basically doing. But if you turn it off, you're just going to slowly drop out of the sky. So she's not producing a whole lot of lift with the wings, which, so in fact we have wings, it should be doing it. Turn coupled back on, let's head back up to space. Yeah, so overall, I would say at least in small light ships like this, not a lot of changes. Other than above SCM, you really have some issues, and below SCM, it's not par for the, especially if you're using coupled. There's not a lot of change to the aircraft handling, at least in something small like this. I'm still pretty maneuverable. Should be able to track targets just fine. We'll check the targeting methodology, the new changes between fixed and gimbaled assist, so we'll have to check that in another video. So we're going to go ahead and call it this for now. I mean, it's a 23-minute video so far. But at least for light shifts, I'm not seeing many changes or differences that we need to worry about. It should be pretty easy to adapt to, and I'm going to imagine it'll be the same in other ships like the Freelancer and the Prospector, etc. We did not check hover real quick. That's something we should probably do. So I'm going to head down here. We're going to check the hovering. So we'll come down here, pull the power out, and let's see how she quote-unquote hovers. We'll say we're taking on some ground troops. Those evil ground troops, man. Always giving us problems. How dare they go on the ground? Alright, she's still hovering. Let's look at our heat. Heat doesn't seem to be rising much. I'm not sure how long we're going to be able to hover here. In theory, it's going to overheat. That's what they said. I got no indications of that happening yet. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she seems to be hovering just fine. What do you think? Yeah, I mean, I guess for now we're just going to have to say hovering seems to be same as always. No real changes. But the main flight model change is this. You go above SCM, you're paying a penalty now. You're really limited on your maneuvering to just very kind of small directional changes above speed. So you're not going to do combat like this. Or if you do, it's not going to be very long-lived because you'll be dead. You can still, I mean, again, at least in the Aero, do pretty well in atmosphere. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. It was a little longer, but again, this is just mostly to test things out and get a first look. We'll go ahead and do the, like I said, I'm going to try to launch the Starfarer next, and we'll see how that behemoth does with the new flight model. Hope everyone has a good day.